Here's something they never tell you in any recruitment poster or any official document. You do not choose your weapon. The environment chooses it for you. The darkness of the room, the temperature of the water, the depth of the enemy territory, the weight of the silence, all of it calculates without your input what you will be holding when the moment that defines your entire life arrives in under a second. And here is the part that takes years to understand. The weapon is not a tool you carry. It is a language your nervous system learns to speak. A grammar of lethality written in metal and gas pressure and trigger weight. The way it sits against your shoulder, the way it breathes when it cycles, the way the recoil communicates information back into your hands. All of it becomes part of how you process reality under conditions that would dissolve an untrained mind entirely. 5 units, 5 environments. 5 weapons that are not interchangeable because the men who carry them are not interchangeable. Start at the beginning. Start with the Marines, Level 1. Marine Raiders. MARSOCs. The M4A1 Asqui Maudit Block 2. You are somewhere that does not appear on a declassified map. The weight is the first thing you register. 12 pounds of rifle before you have mounted a single piece of equipment. The Daniel Defensor's 2 quad rail runs the length of the barrel, a solid, machined, unapologetically heavy piece of engineering that other branches quietly phased out years ago in favor of lighter systems. The Raiders didn't move. They kept this. You have carried this rifle through environments that would destroy a lesser piece of equipment. You have dragged it through mud, used it to break down a door, when the situation compressed that far, driven the muzzle into the earth, and pulled yourself up a slope with it like a climbing tool. When you return to the patrol base and you field strip it, you expect problems. There are none. The free-floating quad rail has held every optic, every laser, every grenade launcher to zero with mechanical stubbornness that mirrors something cultural, something that runs through every Marine who has ever held this rifle and felt the weight as a feature rather than a flaw. The Block 2 is not the newest weapon in the American inventory. It is not the lightest. What it is proven. What it is indestructible. When you ask a Marine Raider why they held onto a platform everyone else upgraded away from, the answer comes back without hesitation. Because it does not fail. There is no elegant philosophy behind it. There is only a brutal, unromantic commitment to a thing that works, that has always worked, and that will continue to work when everything around it is broken. The heaviest tool in the room is the one still functioning at the end. Level 2. Green Berets. United States Army Special Forces. The M4A1 with URG1. You have been in this country for 73 days. You know the names of the men you are training. You know the names of their children. You have eaten their food, learned enough of their language to negotiate without an interpreter, and you have mapped the terrain between here and the border in your head with the kind of obsessive precision that only isolation produces. The M4A1 with the URG1 upper, the Geissila MLOK rail, the cold hammer forged barrel, the improved bolt carrier group, sits across your knees in the firelight. You have put approximately 4,000 rounds through it since you arrived in theater. It has not malfunctioned. The barrel, cold hammer forged to tighter tolerances than the standard M4, holds its accuracy in ways that matter when the nearest air support is 30 minutes out, and the valley below you stretches 500 meters to the tree line where the problem is developing. There is no supply line behind you. There is no armorer you can call. What you have is what you brought, and what you brought must serve as your CQB weapon inside a building, your designated marksman rifle across an open ridge, and your negotiating tool in the hands of an allied fighter who has never seen a weapon system this well engineered. The URG-1 is not the most specialized weapon in the American inventory. That is its entire point. Green Berets do not win wars by fighting the enemy. They win by making the people who live there capable of fighting the enemy themselves. The weapon is part of that calculation. It must work for 60 months in a mud compound and still hold the same zero it had on day 1. 73 days. You are not close to done. Level 3, 75th Ranger Regiment. The Mark 48 Mod 1 lightweight machine gun. The compound comes up fast. You are moving at the back of an 8-man stack in complete darkness, night vision on, and you are carrying 22 pounds of machine gun that USOCOM built specifically because no existing weapon in the inventory answered the question precisely enough. The M240 was too heavy to run at Ranger speed. The lighter systems lacked the terminal authority the mission required. So SOCOM built the Mark 48, the ballistic reach and barrier penetrating power of 7.62 by 51 mm NATO, in a package one operator can carry at full assault pace across terrain that does not accommodate deliberate movement. The breech goes. The stack moves. You do not move like a sniper. You do not move like a surgeon. You move like a verdict. The MK-48 speaks first. The sustained rate of fire creates a physical pressure in the room, a psychological and mechanical reality that the enemy's nervous system cannot process in time to respond effectively. This is not suppression in the polite academic sense. This is the complete seizure of the enemy's decision-making capacity through overwhelming sensory and ballistic input. While the 7.62 dictates the walls, the floors, the space itself, the assault element moves through the seams of that reality and eliminates the threat in the time the machine gun has purchased with its violence. Rangers are not the weapon of choice when precision is the primary requirement. Rangers are the weapon of choice when the primary requirement is that the objective ceases to function. The Mark 48 does not discriminate, it does not negotiate, it does not pause to reassess. It dictates. Level 4, Navy SEALs, DEVGRU. The HK416D with 10.4-inch barrel. The water is 41 degrees. You have been in it for 11 minutes and your hands have passed through the phase of cold that feels like burning and arrived at the phase that feels like nothing, which is worse. Nothing is worse because nothing means the hands are not reliably yours anymore. And in approximately 40 seconds, you are going to need them to perform mechanical tasks under fire with the precision of a trained surgeon. The HK416 comes out of the water with you. This is not accidental. The short-stroke gas piston system, the fundamental engineering decision that separates the HK416 from every direct impingement rifle in the American inventory, exists precisely for this moment. A direct impingement system forces high-pressure gas back through the bolt carrier group to cycle the action. Submerge it, and the water trapped in that system creates a catastrophic hydraulic event on the first round. The piston system drives a separate rod. It drains, instantly, completely. The weapon does not know it was underwater. You break the surface, you acquire, you fire. The 10.4-inch barrel sacrifices velocity for maneuverability in the confined spaces of a ship corridor, a submarine dock, a coastal compound where the geometry of violence requires a shorter tool. The trade is acceptable. The terminal performance at close quarters remains non-negotiable. What the HK416 gives DEVGRU is something that cannot be trained into any other rifle system. The absolute unconditional mechanical trust that the weapon will function in the exact moment that everything else is trying to fail. The ocean is the most indifferent environment on Earth. It does not care about your mission, or your training, or your motivation. The piston system cares about one thing, that the rifle fires when you need it to fire. It always does. Level 5, Delta Force. First SFODD. The Sig Sauer MCX LVAW Black Mamba. The room is black, not dim, not dark, black. Your night vision is rendering the world in green phosphor, and your brain is processing a geometry of bodies and space that most human beings will never encounter in their lifetimes. You know the hostage is in this room. You know the target is in this room. You have approximately 4 meters to navigate between those two facts, and the time window in which a decision must be made is not a second. It is not half a second. It is 0.2 seconds. The MCX LVAW, the low-visibility assault weapon, the weapon that JSOC commissioned to replace the MP5SD, and that SIG built around a .300 AAC Blackout cartridge and an integral suppressor, weighs under 5 pounds suppressed. It is shorter than your forearm with the stock folded. The .300 Blackout subsonic round leaves the barrel at under the speed of sound, which means the loudest mechanical event in the room is the action cycling, which is quieter than a firm hand clap. Whisper violence. That is the operational reality of what you are holding. The round does not overpenetrate. This is not a secondary consideration. In a hostage scenario, overpenetration is a different casualty dressed in different clothing. The .300 BLK subsonic at close range transfers its energy immediately, completely, with the kind of terminal efficiency that the engineers at JSOC described in their original solicitation as the requirement to drop a target instantly in close quarters without creating a second threat beyond them. Delta does not fire in controlled pairs or burst sequences in this room. Delta fires because the identification has been made, the decision has been executed, and what happens next is the translation of a 0.2 second judgment into a physical event that cannot be undone. The Black Mamba does not announce itself. It simply ends the problem. And then the room is black again and quiet, and everything that needed to happen has happened. The weapon is already up, already scanning, already waiting for the next geometry to resolve. This is what it is to operate at the absolute edge of human performance. Not the Hollywood version, not the version with music and slow motion and speeches about sacrifice. The real version, a dark room, a short rifle, a silent round, and a decision that must be correct because it cannot be taken back. Outro. Every weapon in this conversation was built around a specific human limitation. The Block 2 exists because Marines break things and need something that cannot be broken. The URG-1 exists because Green Berets operate alone for months and need something that does everything. The Mark 48 exists because Rangers move too fast for anything heavier and need something that hits harder than anything lighter. The HK416 exists because the ocean will kill a lesser mechanism. The LVAW exists because the human eye cannot discriminate a hostage from a target in much more than 0.2 seconds. And the round had to match that window. The weapon is not a symbol, it is a solution. And the operators who carry these solutions will tell you the same thing across every unit and every theater and every decade of continuous combat that the American Special Operations Enterprise has produced. After enough time, you stop carrying the weapon. The weapon starts carrying you. It becomes the part of your nervous system that operates below the threshold of conscious thought, the part that moves before you decide, that acquires before you look, that solves the geometry of the room in the same fraction of a second that the untrained mind is still registering that a room exists. That is what these weapons actually are. Not tools, not firearms, not equipment. Extensions of what a human being can become when the training is long enough and the stakes are absolute. If you want to understand more about what it costs to build that kind of human being, you know where to find us.